Hello, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where talk is knowledge. Well, today we've got a great show. Here we go. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Rick Zanotti, and joining me right here next to us is John Blackmon. He is the CTO of Trivantis/Lectora, and you'll know it by both names. And John has been with him quite a while, and he is the chief architect of I would say, many of the products, right, John?
That would be true.
That'd be true, and especially Lectora. That's your baby.
That is true, yes.
Yeah.
Started it long ago.
That's good. And
if you're wondering, actually, to be exact.
And if you're wondering, we are, just so you could see, we are in the missing co-host formation. Kirsten Rourke was going to be on today as a co-host, replacing Dawn, who is traveling. And unfortunately, Kirsten's internet's dead, so she's gone. So we are just flying solo, no co-host today. Well, John, you guys have been doing a ton of new things. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the products you're working on? I know there have been a lot of changes with CourseMill, with Lectora, lots of improvements, lots of upgrades.
Yeah, CourseMill, came out with CourseMill 7 just recently, and that's been going really well for us. We have a lot of new reporting functionality in there that has been huge for us. We just last week released Lectora Online 2.0, which is a major release for us. It's really the biggest thing since its initial release about 4 years ago. Lectora Online 2.0 really takes in the full ribbon interface and the full look and feel of Lectora Desktop and puts it in the cloud. So it allows you to do everything you could have done on the desktop in the cloud, but you can also collaborate. You can have more than one person working at a time on a title. I mean, this is what we run into more these days than we used to, where you have a team that needs to work together, and they might be disparate. You might have some developers in India, you might have some developers in the US, and everybody needs to work together. It's really hard to do on a desktop piece of software.
Right.
And we can enable this with Lectora Online.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, is it full functionality, the same functionality that's in regular Lectora?
Yes and no. There's a few things that are different between it and the way it handles it, but for the most part, yes. The problem I have with it right now is every time I look at it, I kind of forget if I'm on the desktop or online because it looks so similar. It really can be a challenge. We actually have, if you want to run it now, we actually have a video that kind of goes through it. It'd be great to show. It's just a few minutes long and kind of shows how Lectora Online works and gives a little thing, so good talking points to go
All right,
to.
that sounds good. Clark, do you want to run the video?
Lectora Online is a cloud-based solution for teams of users to collaborate on web-based projects. You can create and store content, keep team members informed of project responsibilities, and monitor project progress throughout its development. You and your team can access Lectora Online anywhere, anytime using your favorite browser on a Macintosh or Windows PC. Each user of Lectora Online belongs to a private organization. Your content and media can only be shared amongst organization members. These roles determine the permissions members have within a Lectora Online project. The Getting Started tab serves as the home page for accessing all that you can do with Lectora Online, including creating new titles from scratch or from imported assets, opening an existing title, and quick access to many learning resources as well as Lectora news and other tasks. Across the top of the interface, you will find a series of task-based ribbons for accessing editing functions, objects, and tools you'll use in creating your content. This area will also display the context-based object properties ribbons. On the right side, you can access various resources that can be quickly added onto the pages of your title, including all of the images, media, and attachments already in your title, saved object collections, and Lectora Online's extensive library of stock images, characters, and more. You can even access other media shared within your organization. Once you have created a title, you can share it with team members, delegate assignments, and begin adding the content. Lectora Online's version control system is enabled when a title is shared, and you must check out the portion of the title you want to edit before you can begin making changes. When that portion of the title is checked out, no other users will be able to work on it. A great way to begin is by adding a theme to your title. When you select a design theme, a set of background graphics and pre-programmed buttons will be added to your title. Lectora Online supports nearly all types of digital images, audio, and video, including streaming media from YouTube and other sources. To insert media, you can click the appropriate icon on the Insert ribbon, or simply drag the media into Lectora Online from your computer's files. Additional objects you can add to your title include text blocks, which enable you to type text or copy and paste text from an existing document, characters and shapes, media, navigation and interactivity options, and more. For example, the action object can be applied to nearly any object in your title and enables you to create endless interactivity. Each action object is comprised of a trigger, the action itself, and the target of the action. The trigger determines when the action will occur. In the action palette, you can choose from a variety of action categories, including navigation actions, object actions, command actions, and other actions related to media, variables, questions, and tests. And you can attach multiple actions to the same object. With action objects, creating engaging interactivity is just that simple. No programming required. From Lectora Online's Test and Survey ribbon, you can create questions using 12 different question types. These questions can be used anytime as standalone interactions or be included within a gradable test or survey. When you have finished making changes to the title, check in your changes. Specify the changes you've made by leaving a comment. Should you ever need to roll back the title to a previous version, these comments will enable you to determine what changes have been made. The content you create with Lectora Online can be used within AICC and SCORM-based learning management systems, learning record stores, and traditional web servers. Web-based published content uses HTML5 and is accessible on multiple platforms, including tablets and smartphones. Whether you are developing a short HR policy update, a medium-sized interactive training module with assessments, or a robust, high-media, multi-course curriculum, you can use Lectora Online to create, share, and manage your e-learning projects.
That looked really good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I haven't been that familiar with Lectora Online. We have Lectora, a boxed or download version, if you will, and you don't have those features, the collaboration and the rollbacks and all that. That's pretty actually cool.
Yeah, we talked to a lot of people, a lot of our customers, and they were breaking these projects up, but then people were having to work on chapters separately and then give them back to one person who would then integrate them and put together, and then changes became a problem. This really solves all those problems. So we're really pushing this forward. I think the new interface makes a big difference.
It looks really good. Now, is this subscription based?
Yes, subscription-based, monthly or yearly. We set it up. Obviously, there are, discounts along the way, depending on the number of users you put in. But,
sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Now, what are the advantages of going with Lectora Online versus just the regular Lectora?
Well, first and foremost, like we were saying, is the collaboration features. The fact that you can, work together as a team. You can, company-wide, keep all of your resources in the cloud. So you're able to, if you have a set of corporate art and things that you need to share across everyone, that can all be kept in the cloud. Publishing from cloud to cloud as well. If you're publishing to CourseMill, you're able to do all that in the cloud. You never have to download it to your local system and then upload it, and you can go directly into the learning management system. Your data's already there. Everything's up in the cloud. Built-in review, everything, review is all set in. You can invite reviewers. Those reviewers are free. You don't have to pay your subscription for them. So, once you get your title created and worked on, you can, send it out for review to 1,000 people. Hopefully not 1,000, but you can send it out to as many people as you'd like. And, for free, no extra charge on that. So, But there are a lot of advantages. One of the things that got touched on slightly in there was the other platforms. I mean, your Mac, your Windows, Linux machines. Actually, one of our new customers is the Linux Foundation.
Interesting.
So yeah, I mean, it can be used on a Linux platform just fine, and it works. And Chromebooks. Now that there's something that doesn't get a lot of press, but it's coming along pretty good. It's Chromebooks. This works fine on Chromebooks. We have it tested. It's been demoed by Oracle on Chromebooks recently. So.
Okay. That's pretty good. Are you hosting internally, or is it something like Amazon S3?
It's out on Amazon.
It is on Amazon.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I think everyone goes to. It's truly on the cloud. I think everyone goes to Amazon or one of the cloud hosting facilities now. It just makes so much more sense.
It's amazing how much infrastructure they've created just because they sell everything on Earth, and they said, God, we've got so much extra storage. Let's timeshare it, if you will.
Well, and they've already built in a lot of the security. So the DDoS attacks that just so recently affected a few other things, you're protected against that just by being in Amazon's cloud. So
right. That's good.
You get a lot of things without having to do that all yourself just by being in their cloud.
That's great. Now, it's interesting. A lot of people aren't that familiar with CourseMill. I actually think CourseMill is one of the best LMSs out there, and for a lot of reasons. And by the way, no, he's not paying us to say this or anything, but
but I might.
But I like, yeah. I do like CourseMill. I've only worked with it in 2 shops that we've had as clients, and it was pleasant, easy to work with, clean interface, clean, readable interface. That's key. And it just worked. It worked really well. The setup was easy, and I don't know. And they had one of them had an in-house version of it. The other one is doing the hosted version, and actually one of them we've had him on, Dave Lukasik from PSI. He's up in Orlando, and he's been through about 3 LMSs, and this is so far he said his favorite. He's just really having a good time with it, and he's not an easy guy to please. So this is good.
Well, our mantra all along has been, the ease of use and the 80-20 rule to really do a good job with the 20% that people actually use in an LMS. Right. And there's that people go into such detail and they put 1,000 options on every page, and it makes it so complicated it's hard to use. And we've gone away from that. We just want to make it as simple as possible to use.
Now, does CourseMill support the X API or the Experience API at this point?
It does not. It does not. Okay. That's something that's in Lectora and Lectora Online, but not quite in CourseMill. Okay. However, it's coming.
Not that many people are using it yet. So that's, I always laugh at the sales talk, we support the full X API. Well, yeah, but...
but I don't know how much you
cool
looked into it, but I tell you, I really like X API. I think it's going to be the way in a little while. You can do a lot more with it. You really can record just about anything, any type of interaction. So
that's a nice part without having to have a test.
Right. It's fantastic, the things you can do. I actually, it's one of my favorites because, of course, I did implement it in Lectora, so I feel good about it. Yeah. But even that, notwithstanding that, I really do think it's the up and coming next standard out there.
Yeah. Oh, it will be. And are you folks using the Rustisi API on that?
Excuse me?
Were you folks using the Rustisi API?
We are not. Although we talked to them about it, and we work with Rustisi, we did not end up using the Rustisi API because we really kind of had it implemented pretty early on. So
okay, that sounds good. When we talk to people a lot, we'll bring up CourseMill and some other LMSs. I'm not the biggest fan of LMSs. Especially the big ones, because I've seen nothing but mostly disasters in half of them. A lot of money spent, and a lot of people go through these multi-million-dollar implementations, and the end result is 1 to 2 years later they dump it and get a new one. And I've seen people go to that, and I haven't really heard that happen with CourseMill, where they need to constantly get off of it. People are pretty happy. The ones we've talked to throughout the years have all enjoyed it. They like it, and I think, like you said, simplicity. And it's and by simplicity, I don't mean lack of features. I mean it's easy to use.
Have you seen the new advanced reporting in the new version?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, some great new tools. I should have gotten a video for that as well. I didn't get a video prepared for it, but some great new reporting tools. Again, ease of use. We made it as simple as possible to go through. You can set up some great reports. Yeah. Really get a feel for your data, because what you end up with an LMS is just a ton of data, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to have a way to parse it. And, CourseMill 7 has input a huge array of reporting tools in there that allow us to get anything you'd like out of it.
Yeah, that's good because most of the LMSs really don't provide a lot of reporting. You get a couple of canned reports, and invariably you've got to go to IT or somebody else to create much more advanced reports, and nobody does that. So it's amazing how few.
After you paid $500,000 and spent 3 or 4 months implementing it, then you have to get somebody else in to write reports on it.
No, not 3 or 4 months.
No.
These are taking 1 and 2 years to implement. It's sad. It's just sad. These LMSs are costing more than the ERP systems which run the whole company.
Right. Yeah, it's very true.
To me, it's sort of mind-boggling. Having run IT departments in the past and having implemented multi-million-dollar ERP systems, I sit there and go, do I really want to spend $1 million on an LMS? I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. But you guys have a nice subscription model with. Now, are you still selling the software for CourseMill, or is it mostly subscription now?
Truthfully, we're one of the few left that sell it for selling software. Not many companies do. So we actually still do. Okay. It's not a bad niche to be in, truthfully. A lot of companies have security, privacy, issues that they want to put it behind their own firewall. They don't want the courses out on the cloud. It's well protected out there, but not everyone feels comfortable with that. So, hey, we'll still sell it to you either way.
Yeah. When we get off, I'll tell you about a company you may want to talk to.
All right.
They're large. They've gone through a pretty crummy sum total implementation. No names mentioned, but
yes, no comment.
No comment. So what the industry's changing. There are changes happening in the industry. Some good, some not so good. You guys have always been keeping on top or moving forward in what you do. To this day, I don't think anybody does the non-coding coding as well as you folks do. The ability to do very complex if-then-then-else statements, complex conditionals, complex really routines, and you don't really have to be a programmer.
Right, and that's part of the difference with what we do. Now we try to, I think unfortunately we've emphasized that too much. We've said, look at all these great things you can do, and we've thrown at the complex. And because of that, I think we've been kind of looked at as, boy, that's really the more harder to use tool, more complex tool. But in my opinion, it's really not. I mean, we have that depth. You can get that complex with it. But I think if you don't want to or don't need to, it's pretty darn easy to get to anyway. You can use it in a non-complex way. So I think we kind of try to give it the best of both worlds with Lectora.
Yeah, you can stay as simple as you want, but what I like is the power. I know some people who've developed Lectora applications, which I still don't get. I'm looking at how the heck did you do that?
Yeah,
and I know
you
Lectora
can create incredible games with Lectora. I mean, just the logic is incredible.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's not that hard to use in terms of advanced features. And now that you've got the newer interface about a year and a half ago, which has more of a PowerPoint look, so people probably again feel pretty comfy in that environment. Though I have to admit, I almost like the old look better. I like the old look from about 5 years ago, 6 years ago better. It was all there. So,
you're not alone. We definitely have, but we had to move forward. I know a lot of people like the old look. It's the XP look, if you will.
It was. But what I liked about it is everything was there.
Yeah.
I always kind of curse a little bit at Microsoft because they're leading in a lot of the UI design, and they have some of the worst UI designs on earth.
They do.
Or unreadable UI designs. That's another one. No contrast. It's one of my pet peeves. But no, you guys have always been a good tool to work with. You're in the middle of e-learning. You know what's happening. What do you see as some of the big changes happening in e-learning, and how are you folks approaching some of them?
Well, I think the biggest change coming forward is something I think we all know, which is responsive design. It's being clamored for by a lot of industries out there. As a matter of fact, it's almost required by some. And so I see a lot of the tools, including our tools, moving in that direction. It will be expected that you can create a course once and you can have it sized to whatever you need to size to in a predictable manner, so that you need to be able to have one course that looks a little bit different on a phone than a tablet than the desktop, and even in landscape and portrait modes and things like that. And obviously we have a competitor out there that does have some of that in there, but the implementation is fairly complex. So it's our job, on the Lectora side, to make that easier. And I think that's what we're striving to do. So to me, that's the biggest thing out there. There's obviously a lot of other avenues out there, micro courses, just video learning in as a whole. I mean, that in itself has taken on its own, with all of the different video libraries of courses out there. I mean, there's quite a lot going on.
Do you see any other trends besides the responsive? And responsive is an interesting one because at this stage, very, very few of the solutions are truly responsive. You really have to rewrite lots of pieces of it, or it works to a point, but none of them work that well yet. And I think part of the problem is responsive isn't everywhere in terms of a lot of companies still don't really allow a lot of the content out. So it's getting there. It's getting there. It just depends on the nature of the company. We work a lot with financial companies. Data doesn't get out that easily. And they don't like things on tablets or phones, except for the consumer. That's different. But for the internal employees, they don't really like data getting out that much. And for good reason. I mean, there's a lot of fraud and there's a lot of other problems. But that's a big industry. Insurance, same way. Anything with government, well, government's different. They just let things out on purpose. That's a whole different world. But
they just leak it.
They just leak it. But yeah, it's interesting. So responsive is definitely something that I think we're all seeing. I don't know how much is being used yet. There are some examples of it. Now, you folks do have, I believe, an iPad, and I'm not sure if you have an Android app yet.
We do. That's on the it's on the CourseMill side. So what those are is basically will manage your content offline. That's the advantage they provide. Currently, I mean, you can take courses offline just within your browser, not offline, excuse me, online within your browser on any device. And you can, format the course for those devices and they will work just fine. But, what those apps that we have are allow you to take those courses through CourseMill offline. So you can download them to your device, take them when you're on a plane, take them out in the woods, anywhere you want, and then they'll gather your data and all your test results, and then they'll submit it up as soon as you get connected again.
It's interesting. A lot of people don't realize the importance of offline and mobile yet.
Right. Yeah, and very few of the apps provide both the offline capability and the reporting capability. I mean, you can use pure SCORM within the app, SCORM or AICC, and it will record all of your results offline and then put it back in later. That's something that you don't see. You see one or the other, but not both. No,
that's true. And offline, we work with a company called Alpha Software. They have a product called Alpha Anywhere, and that builds apps. It's really for business apps, enterprise app development. And they have come out with offline, which automates the whole process, which is a difficult process to make sure that everything syncs up when you get back in. And offline is a key concept that only now people are starting to embrace. And if you want your data records, if you take your training, look how hard it is sometimes with training. People break out of a course and go, I didn't get credit. Well, you broke out of the course. Can I get my credit? By the way, managers are the ones who do that the most.
Yes, of course.
I broke out of the course. Can I get credit? Can I really not have to take these 12 compliance courses? I broke out of every one of them.
That's where XAPI, I think, is going to be a lot. It's a lot more suited. And we had to do quite a lot on these mobile apps to contain all that SCORM data and keep it in and then set it up. XAPI is meant to be offline.
Yes.
So it's more designed for it. So I think that's, another part of the trend is once we get that in all facets, both in authoring and in the LMS side, I think you'll see that really start to take off, because then the data is much more logically aligned as offline data, because it can come in at any time. It's not sequential as it goes through.
Right. Now, what do you see? Well, HTML5. What are your opinions on HTML5? That seems to be one of the biggest buzzwords right now.
It's the way.
It's the way.
It's not a shortcut. It's the way.
It's the way.
And for us, here at Trivantis, it's been the way for quite a long time. And we were, we've been producing HTML since 1999. We never actually went through our Flash phase. So it is definitely the way. It's finally standardized enough that you're seeing a lot of productivity. I think you'll see, a lot of the gamification was primarily done in Flash for a long time. I think you'll see that change over to HTML5. Again, we talk about people create games in Lectora. Those games have always been HTML5.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's for us, it's just the way. It's not a new trend. That's how we've always done it. That's the way we look at it.
Well, you've implemented jQuery, I think, in the past, right? I believe that was part of Lectora.
We don't use jQuery inside of the application itself, although we allow, you can easily pull it in and then use jQuery yourself if you want to.
Right.
All of our HTML5 is done on, detection. We detect the browser. If there's HTML5 present, we'll use it for certain pieces. So, with one publish, you use, the best of both worlds. So we'll look at whatever you're on, and we'll use HTML5 for things like transitions. Actually, I believe our transitions that we put in our advanced transitions, you had requested those.
I did.
Now, the last time we had this call.
Yep, and you did it.
So
you did it. Now, there is one small gripe. Okay. All right. I'll give you my small gripe. The transitions work well on objects, but they don't work well on text. The text fade-in isn't quite clean. But other than that, it works beautifully.
Okay, well, we'll check that out.
That's the only thing. For some odd reason, the text doesn't transition too well. And it may not even be a Lectora issue. A lot of times Lectora gets blamed for things way out of the control of Lectora, and that's browsers.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. I'll challenge anybody. Go to a website, launch it in 4 different browsers. You will get 4 different results. They're not 100%. And I'm not even talking about
my life you're talking about now.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, I feel sorry for you in that respect, because you're dealing with vendors who just implement the rendering of HTML content a little bit differently. Yeah. And of course, we're stuck in the corporate world with a lot of IE.
IE11 is finally a standards compliant browser, and it's pretty good, although we're still having some space. We're actually having kerning problems on there now. Character spacing is not the same in IE.
Is it spreading out a little bit more than it should?
Yes, yeah. 1 pixel per character sometimes, and it's kind of a problem. Yep. But they may fix that coming up. So, and it is taking people a while to upgrade their browsers. So, getting everyone finally off of IE8 and onto the more modern versions of IE will really help. But once that happens, then I think you'll see a lot more of convergence. I mean, these things will start to operate more similarly.
Yeah, hopefully, because we still walk into companies that are using IE6, and you go, oh gosh, no, not another IE6 one. And they're out there. There are some out there. IE8 and 9 are pretty common. Yeah. The corporate world doesn't move that fast for good and bad reasons. The problem is, by staying on the old browsers, they've got more security issues and other things that it makes sense to update, especially on a browser. It just makes more sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's the only problems we've ever run into with Lectora. I don't think I've ever really run into a big Lectora bug or even a small one. It's usually a browser-related issue.
Right. And we do our best to put in workarounds. We detect the browser you're on, and we'll change the way things work based upon that with a single publish, which is nice.
Yep.
There's always, you put out a new revision, and the next week they release a new browser version that's got some other bug in it. Okay, we got to work around that one too.
Yep. No, and your support team's good. We've called support on quite a few occasions. They've always been helpful. And one thing I like is that if they can't figure it out, they'll send us code. And that code usually lets us go, oh, okay, we see what's going on. And that's really helpful. So that's been a kudo to you guys in terms of support and service. No complaints. They're fast. They're good, and they escalate real quickly when there is a problem, which again is always appreciated.
Right. It comes down to the trust me, that comes right down to this office. So we get that down. That support's up in Cincinnati, and the development's down here.
Oh, are they really? They're up in Cincinnati? Yeah. So yeah, it's good stuff. On the whole, I have really no complaints. I've never had a lot of complaints about Lectora. It's been one of the few I'm actually smile when people go, do you use Lectora? Yeah, we do. It's fun.
Well, I tell you what, you're going to love the next version coming out too. We have a new version coming out later this year.
I've seen it already. We beta a little bit. And yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, did you do the beta? Okay, great.
My wife signed up for the beta, and she did. I helped her a little bit with it. And it looked good. It looked really good. Nice functionality. And now, when's that coming out?
Later this year.
Later this year. Okay.
The term we'll be using.
Okay.
Towards the end of the year.
That's great. That'll be great.
I think if you actually look at the historical release dates of Lectora over the years, you could probably tell me what the date is, because that's what we're going to try to do.
Okay, that sounds good. And what else is happening with Lectora? Lectora, the company.
We're looking at a lot of things. First and foremost, responsive. I think that we talked about. We're full forward on that, and we're working towards that right now. We're trying to really focus on online. right now, because I think that really provides us a lot more utility. It provides our customers a lot more utility to go online. So I think you'll see, we've primarily gone with desktop first, and online gets features later with the interface and things. That might start turning around. You might see more focus on online. The cloud is extremely important in today's business world, and people have better connectivity. Like we can do this interview from Florida to California over Skype, and it works just fine. So that kind of connectivity enables you to do things in the cloud that you couldn't do before. And then finally, I think you see us going towards product convergence, where we converge the online and the desktop product offerings, so that you'll be able to use one product in either a desktop or an online version, or somewhere a hybrid in between. That to us is an important way to go, and probably the way to go in the future.
Yeah, that's great. We definitely look forward to the new versions you guys come out with, because again, like I said, everyone we've had has never had to get letters of complaints or anything else. So it's like, hey guys, what are you doing? No, you guys do a good job.
Thank you.
And I think it shows in all the work you guys have been doing. If people want to try Lectora out, free trial, I believe?
Yes, free trial right on the website. You can download it. I think they're changing it up to make it a little bit simpler to go through. I think you used to have to go through an email thing. Now you can just go click in and get the free trial.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're trying to make that as smooth as possible. Lectora Online, I think you can click it. You could probably be trialing it in about less than a minute.
That's good. That's good. Now, if you are a Lectora user, and I've gotten this question from some people, is there an upgrade path or downgrade or lateral crossover to online?
Yes. So all of your tabs, we have export import between the two.
Okay.
So, you can go into Lectora Desktop. One of your export options is to export to Lectora Online and import, and that creates what we call a package file. Lectora Online uses a package file. It's a single file that contains all of the resources that you need in that. You can then import that right into Lectora Online, and vice versa. If you want to go back from Lectora Online to the desktop, you can do that as well. The formats are a little bit different. Lectora Online is a pure HTML format, so all text is kept in HTML, whereas on Lectora Desktop, text is in RTF because it's a desktop product. So you may see a little difference in the way text flows, but it's virtually the same, file format, if you will, under the covers. So
that's great. Well, John, as always, a pleasure seeing you again and having you on. And if people need to get a hold of you, do they just, I know you're on LinkedIn.
I'm there. I'm LinkedIn, Skype. You just call us at the front desk.
Okay. And if you do call Trivantis or Lectora, you'll find they're very receptive to helping. That's all I can say. That everybody we've talked to has always been really helpful. Good staff. You guys have good people there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, John, a pleasure again seeing you. And sorry not going to see you at DevLearn. I was hoping to actually meet you in person for the first time.
I know. I expected to be out there, but again, not this year, but I'm going to.
Well, we've got ASTD Tech Knowledge, and then we've got Learning Solutions next. I'll be at Learning Solutions for sure. I think I'm going to be at ASTD Tech Knowledge. So hopefully we'll meet you at one of those.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get out to one of those. So.
Especially Learning. It's not that far. You could drive to that one, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, again, appreciate it, and we will see you next time. And if you're watching the shows in the chat room, sorry nobody was monitoring the chat room today. It just wound up that way. We didn't have a co-host. But feel free to send any questions over towards John, and I'm sure he could answer, or post them up, and we'll try to get answers for you. And the video will be up. This is up on Ustream right now, and it will also be up on Vimeo a little bit later today. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And if you're on the live show, there's a little button on top or on the bottom that says follow. Follow us, and then you'll know when we have guests on and when the show's actually coming on. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks a lot, John.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.